Hello, good afternoon. Sorry, I don't speak Russian, so I will speak English. For me, it's a pleasure to be again here in Moscow, and I will try to explain some of the ideas and projects we have been developing in Barcelona and how we have been transforming our city in the last years. Well, I am sure you know where is Barcelona. Barcelona is the capital of Catalonia. The city itself has like 2 million people. Metropolitan area has 3.5, and the whole Catalonia has 7 million people. So it's much more smaller than Moscow. Something very relevant for us is that Barcelona has the Football Club Barcelona, that we are very proud of it. And Barcelona also has one of the most famous buildings is Sagrada Familia, that we are still building it. It will be finished in 2026, so in 11 years will be finished, because will be the 100th anniversary of the death of Gaudí. We are also running the Mobile World Congress, so now it's a city very much related with technology. But in this graph, what we can see that is talking about the relation between the assets, that mean the structure, and the capacity to do things. Barcelona, in fact, you see that is very near let's say the big cities in the world. And I would like to show you or to try to explain you why and how we do it. I would like also to compare in relation with Moscow and in relation with the idea that we are now, after a process of urban development, we are developing an urban regeneration. And I think that this is what is happening now in Moscow, the idea of starting with the urban regeneration. And what is relevant is to understand which is the model of the regeneration, which kind of projects you must develop, etc. So I was 10 days ago in the Moscow Urban Forum, and I was impressed by many projects and initiatives like this river development, the new railway, circular railway, the transformation of the public space. And I would like to explain you some of ideas that we use in order to develop our urban regeneration. So the first one will be the idea we are moving from centralized cities to distributed cities. In fact, one of the best representation of what is a centralized city is Moscow. Like Beijing and few other cities in the world has in the center, has very clear center. In fact, in the center in Beijing has the Forbidden City, and here you have a Kremlin, but that means that your city in general has been growing, extending this radial mode. In Barcelona, that we could develop such a model, what we did was to develop something very different. I will show you with this diagram. What we decide is instead to have one center and then the city growing around, what we are trying to develop is a city with many centers. Those centers here are represented 73 neighborhoods that you can see in Barcelona. And in fact, one neighborhood is this. One neighborhood is one area where is in around 500 meters distance, where the people, the citizens like you, can find all the public facilities, can find school, health center, kindergarten, market, library, etc. So in Barcelona, we have been working very hard in order to develop the idea of the neighborhoods. So here you see the multifunctional and also in relation with all the different ages. I like very much in this building that I can see kids and I can see old people and also young people. So in order, all of these are all the people you can find in a city, and all of these are the different functions. The question is how we can develop all of these around the neighborhood, but not only this, what we want to do is to do everywhere. So for example, this was the map of the libraries that we have in Barcelona. You see the old ones were here in the center. This was 25 years ago. But then we had a plan, we developed a plan in order to develop the libraries everywhere. We don't have today a city library, but we have 43 libraries. We have libraries in almost all the neighborhoods in the city, and this is what really creates this structure of the neighborhood. Obviously, if you have your library in a walking distance, you don't need to take your car, or you don't need to take the metro. So that means that to make a city where you can walk to have the access to facilities, what it creates is, one appealing or one way to deal also with the mobility and with the public space. So those are the standards for the building, for the libraries with the different contents. This is the drawing for the health center. Also, you see there are health centers everywhere. And now this is the typology of the health center. And this is maybe the most important, is the diagram for the markets. We have 4 shopping malls, few shopping malls, but what we have are markets everywhere. So the people can go to a market, for example, a market like this. We also are trying to do good projects. We use these facilities, the schools, markets, in order to generate the identity of the different communities around the city. But then in this walking distance, the people can have access to buy fresh food or to have access to restaurants. So that means that the idea of the community of the neighborhood are built around these public facilities, and we are still doing new projects. This is a new market we are developing in the upper part of the city, and then in the roof of this market we are developing also urban agriculture related with the market itself. Another market we did, this is a special market. This is called free market. It's a market where you can find anything. You can find everything from the people that they are trying to sell what they have, but there is only one market like this in Barcelona. The other aspect is that although we have a very distributed organization for the citizens, we still have a higher concentration of tourists. So this drawing is representing the red are the tourists, the pictures taken by the tourists using Flickr. So you can see where the tourists are mostly. On the left, you see the Camp Nou. Up here, you see Park Güell or Sagrada Familia, and here is Las Ramblas. So Barcelona is very symmetrical from the point of view of these facilities and the neighborhoods, but is asymmetrical from the point of view of the tourist access. The second concept is from collapsing city with cars to demolishing urban highways. I think that in Moscow you have one of the best examples of one city that is collapsed by cars, no? The only city that I know is Beijing, again. Beijing and Moscow are the biggest example. Last week I read a report that Moscow is the most collapsed city in Europe. But this is obviously related what I say, is related with this centralized model, is related with maybe the non-existent or of a good distributed way. And what I would like to show, I don't know if we can switch off the light, or what do you think? Can we switch off the light? Oh, now looks the cinema, like the cinema. Good. You can see the sea of Barcelona, and this is the new technological district. But you see, this is supposed to be the center of the city of Barcelona, the future center. But in the 90s, someone still, with the obsession of the cars, built this kind of elevated highway. So obviously, if this is the center of the city, what we were drawing was the idea that in the center it should be a square or it should be a green area, it should be like a park. And then we were working on this idea of transforming this into a park and in fact making a tunnel. So obviously the only way to make it was demolishing the highway. And this is exactly what we did last year. So that means that one way to avoid collapse of traffic is eliminating cars and also eliminated all these infrastructures that we were building in order to somehow to have a better accessibility. In fact, this is a myth. This is the demolition of a myth because when the cities had few cars, we have only like streets. Then the people were buying more cars, then we build more streets. Then we bought more cars, then we start to make elevated highways. And now everything is collapsed. So the only way is to start to go in the way in reverse, to start to promote public transportation, to start to promote also to demolishing the infrastructures, and then we will build a city that is more at this human scale. And obviously, we make this because people like you were really insisting to the government that we should demolishing the highway because the people really are engaged on this urban transformation. We have a strong process of debate with the people in order to take the decision, and finally we did it. So, obviously, if we demolish the highways, what we do is we need to develop a connectivity between the different areas of the city. You see here we have these 73 neighborhoods, but then we are connecting them with the main avenues, and these avenues should be green. So we want to make a structure where we connect all the neighborhoods with avenues that contain trees, shops, bus, and bikes. Trees, bus, shops, and bikes. So the idea that all the city you could be walking and shopping in local commerce or walking under trees or using bus or using your bike. And those are projects we did in the last 4 years because what we are doing right now is extending the sidewalks and eliminating space for cars in all the major avenues in the city. So this is Paseo de Gracia, that is the area with the most important shops. This is the diagram about the structure. 30% of the people walk to work. And this is one of the avenues that we just transformed. You see, we expand the sidewalk, we put the bike lines here, and we have the bus here in the side. Many people ask, and why you have the bike not in over there near the sidewalk? Because if not, this creates a conflict with the buses. The buses many times hit the bike, and that's why we decide to put the bikes in the center, and you see this kind of protection here, and then we have the cars and the bus. So the result is that we imagine the city of the future like this. We imagine the city of the future, a city where you can walk, where you can have good public space, where you have mostly public transportation or taxis or sharing bikes, etc. And then all of this we'll do because we are using the right technology. For us, this picture is the result of many years of research and many years of development, and the idea that in front of the house, the kids should be able to play. Another project that we did was this one with the harbor, another good sample. You see many harbors. Here there was a fence because this was the historical harbor that was still industrial harbor only 25 years ago. And we needed to make a highway passing through here. But we decided was again to put the highway underground. And then what we did was this. The highway, in fact, you see is here. Is partially open, is partially underground. But basically, what we got was a public space that was open in the city to all these let's say, facilities that in this case are commercial. This is a shopping mall. This is a shopping mall, and this is the aquarium. But what we were doing with a lot of interest is to work with the public space. Again, here we did this wooden platform in order to allow to extend the Ramblas and to connect this with these commercial facilities. And here we developed 2 years ago the World Championship of Swimming. Another sample that I did, but this is in Taiwan. Part of this that we did in Barcelona, we have been working in other places. In Taiwan, I was developing this waterfront, again, using wood and using the elements of design that can allow also generate good public space, and then to allow to the access, in this case, to the sea, and also to promote social interaction and create some identity to the place. The identity in the places are absolutely fundamental. So the fourth concept is that we are moving from private transportation to shared and electrical mobility. That's why we are able to change to our model. My son, that is 18 years old, like you, he doesn't want to buy cars. He wants to buy a computer. He don't want to buy a car. And I understand, because he can make other systems of transportation. So that's why Barcelona is like a grid, you see. But our bus system was really chaotic. You know, this is the map of the bus system that is very difficult to understand. In general, I never take the bus, because one day I took the bus once and I was lost. The bus brought me to the wrong place because it was like impossible to understand. So there were some people that say, why don't we make a new plan for the buses? Why don't we, if Barcelona is a grid, we put vertical lines, we have horizontal lines, and then the result will be a grid. Then the people will be able to understand how to take those buses. The other crucial question is that the bus should be a luxury transportation system. The bus should not be like in some American cities for the poor people that cannot afford the car. The bus should be luxury, and here you see we are starting to use full electrical buses that they have Wi-Fi. The bus stops also have this interactive screen. You have the information when the bus is arriving. So that means that the bus, that is a very cheap and fast way to introduce the transportation system in the city, is really becoming more and more popular in Barcelona after this transformation. We are also working with electrical cars. So you see here, this is Paseo de Gracia, where we have an electrical charging station. And this is one electrical taxi from Nissan that we are starting to use. And we are, as I say, also starting to use the electrical motor, etc. So in the future, mobility will be electrical. But the question is not to change all the cars that you have to electrical cars, because then you will have your city collapse, but with clean air. The question is to change the model, to start to develop the sharing car, the Uber system, the sharing bike, the better bus transportation, and having the sense that, in fact, today we don't see horses in the street. 100 years ago, you had horses, and everyone had a horse, let's say. Maybe in 30 years, we will not see private cars in the street, because this was the old model about dealing with transportation. Then another crucial question is the idea from planning with intuition to planning with information. We need to have better information in order to take decisions and in order to know how to run city. So we are developing a platform right now with Twitter, Flickr, or with the cell phones. We are able to represent information that can give us a good sense and a good information about where the people are, how the people are moving, etc. And then our mission is not only to look at this, but to try to upgrade it if necessary, to try to develop let's say, other structures in order to promote a better way to work for the city. So now, another important project we are doing is in Barcelona, we have a public network of fiber optic. And what we are doing, those are the access points. This is every 1 kilometer, we have an access point. All of them are connected, and all of those points are connected with the telecommunication tower. But what we decided was to create one and only one public network in the public space in order to collect the information. And in order to do so, what we did was to create a team with our engineers and our architects. So we had a meeting where we asked the engineers to present all the technology that we need in order, we decided to use the light post in order to hang the router. You see here the router by Cisco, or the camera, or some sensors here. So the question was how we could integrate all of this into a light post. And this was the design that came after that. We decided that we should make a cylinder with all these elements integrated in order to connect to put everywhere in the city. And this was the first prototype that we did. You see here how all of this is integrated. Here you see another one. Here's the information that you can have Wi-Fi access. But what we imagine is that in the near future, all the city will be covered in the same way that we have lighting everywhere. We should have information access everywhere. And with this information access, we are also able to connect any kind of sensor that we can integrate in the city for parking, for air quality, or for mobility, or whatever. So that means that in order to have a better management of the city, we need to create a platform of information, and we need to be able to map this information in order to take decisions for us. Another important project that we were developing is we are thinking about how to develop this idea of the sharing economy and to bring from digital to the physical space. So before, in the public space, there were only private building or private space or public space. But if we promote this interaction between private, we generate the shared space. So I was developing a building, a housing project in Valencia. That, by the way, I was very inspired by the Narconfin. Today someone asked me, which is your preferred, your best building in Moscow? And I say, Narconfin. When I was a student of architecture in Spain, we were drawing the Narconfin as a great sample of new architecture and new housing model. But in this case, more than a communist model, what we are promoting is a sharing model. So instead to have 100 individual apartments, what we decide is to share 20% of the surface of every apartment in order to develop a kind of big living room for a small community of 12 people, and then to make a big space for everyone, 300 meters. So the result is that the people are paying 45 square meters, but he has access to 408 square meters. And this is how it looks like. So this is one of the private apartments, private space where every student has a kitchen, toilet, the bed, and the working area. And you see that this guy play guitar. He like play guitar. In a traditional house, he will be playing the guitar alone. But we are in a sharing building. So this is the living room that is just in front of the private apartment. So this is the private apartment, and this is the big living room. And there are several categories of living room. And another living room is that one. So the guy that had the guitar, he found other people in this sharing living room. And then the sharing space promote interaction, and then the people discover that one play guitar, the other play the drums, etc., and they decide to play together. So that means that the idea of the sharing communities promote more social interaction and promote another level of community. So this is the plan for architects that are here. Those are the plans. You see, this is the elevator. From the elevator, you go to this sharing space, and from the sharing space, you go to your individual apartment. So you see the different categories, individual and sharing. So another fundamental question is, we are moving from a system that is importing energy to generating energy. Today, we are consuming the energy that we are, for example, energy we are consuming here in this building is coming from somewhere. You have a plant that is burning coal, or a nuclear plant, or whatever, that is producing the energy outside the city. This is the model that we developed during the 20th century. But for the 21st century, what we are doing is trying to bring the idea of the internet to everything. So the internet of energy means that, this will be the equivalent to television, and this is the equivalent to YouTube, where everyone is making videos and is uploading videos and are sharing the videos with the other. So in this case, every building are making energy, and the people are consuming the energy or storing the energy or sharing the energy in the neighborhood, obviously always in an economical basis. So if we look to one of these blocks, this is how it will look like. We have a building, we need to do a retrofitting, that means adding better insulation or adding solar production, and then we are having the cars where we'll be storing the energy, etc. So the idea that we have a city that is already built, but basically in the next year we need to do a retrofitting of all the city. This is what means urban regeneration. If we apply this principle to one block, we can apply to the whole city. And then we are developing these neighborhoods, but neighborhoods that are able to produce energy too. And we in Barcelona, we approve a plan in order to use the rooftop in order to produce energy or to create green spaces. And we also start to develop some prototypes for this. This is a prototype we start to do of a small house that is producing energy and is storing the energy in the car. We have been trying to see how architecture will look like when buildings start to produce energy in their facades. And this is another park. This is a park in Barcelona where we did a very big photovoltaic pergola that is making all the energy that is needed for the lighting in the park. Obviously, this pergola makes shadow and at the same time stop the sun and produce electricity. And we are also to start to use the aeolic generation. The last concept and fundamental concept is that in the last 50 years, the city were growing, and the city were growing in general against the nature. We have a very good sample. This is not Beijing or is not Moscow. This is Barcelona. And you see that this kind of neighborhoods with blocks, etc., this is what we were building when we were following the principles of the modern urbanism or the modern architecture with a segregation of functions. This neighborhood is only for housing, and then we have a collapse in the traffic in our cities because we have a functional segregation. If we have hybrid neighborhoods or mixed-use neighborhoods, then we will reduce the collapse of traffic in the city. So one of the projects, you see the city was growing against the nature, but one of the projects that we launched, we built a highway that was cutting the relationship between the mountain and the city. One of the projects we were developing was to reconnect the nature with the city, to reconnect the nature using the same structure of the water. And one of the big samples, we did 16 simultaneous competition, and one of the best sample is this project. You see, this is the end of the mountain. So this is exactly here, somewhere here. You see, we have the mountain, we have the river, we have another mountain, but we built a highway here. We built a highway crossing through here. So that's why all the natural networks are cut, are disconnected. This is the mountain, the nature, and this is the highway. You see the river. So the winner proposal was to rebuild these connections, to make a green bridge, but not only for walking or for horses, but to make a bridge 100 meters that will allow to reconnect the natural structures. You can see here how this bridge was using the right geometry in order to keep the forces of the nature here. Another project I developed, in this case in Valencia, in this area, you know, I got this area in order to develop a project of 3,000 social housing. 3,000 social housing. So I didn't want to make the same that we were doing in the past, only making housing. And that's why I developed this project where we did a lot of housing, but we did 13 public buildings, like sports center here. You see the center of the neighborhood is a sports center. This is a cultural center. This is a school, another school, a swimming pool, etc. So the other question is, all of this should be developed in an agriculture land, and what we decided was to try to keep this agriculture activity, but in this case will not be anymore industrial agriculture, but it will be more a kind of social agriculture. And we did it. We developed the master plan, and now the city owns all this surface, and they give for 2 years these small portions of land for the citizens, you see here, in order that they can make agriculture for their own consumption. So that means that in this case, instead to develop parks, I know that in Moscow you have a very beautiful parks. We are also doing some parks that are including agriculture inside. We are also trying to do good housing project like that one. But you see here, this was the render, and this is the reality. So it looks like similar. It took like 10 years to go from here to here. Another project that also is related with this idea of the nature. During many years, I was interested about connecting architecture with landscape. And then I was doing some models and writing some text about the idea of making buildings and mountains. And one day I received a phone call from a mayor, and he asked me, "Mr. Guallart, do you want to build a mountain for me?" And obviously I thought that it was a joke, but it was not a joke. So you see here, this is the old mountain where this is 2,000 years old settlement that the city was growing so much here. But basically here they make a quarry in order to make the harbor at the beginning of the century. So the idea in this case was to rebuild the mountain using a similar geometry and to put inside this volume to make a commercial area, and spa, an hotel, and an auditorium. So the plan on the building, you see this is the historical hill, and the plan on the building is that one. The plan of the building is a topographical plan, because what we wanted was to have, this is the section by the auditorium, but to allow the people to be able to walk in the surface. We were applying complex geometry, and that's another good use of the technology, to use the technology in order to develop complex surfaces and complex projects. And the result for the facade, this is the facade of the building, that it looks like a mountain because it works like a mountain. So the people really can walk over the facade of the building, and they can enter to the different functions here. You see here some hall here, so they can enter here. There is a parking over here, but they can also, the access to the auditorium is exactly here. And then inside the mountain, you see there is one spa with and many other different functions. There are also some commercial activities. Yeah, this is the entrance to the auditorium, walking over the mountain. And then the last, this is the extra project. The last question is that in order that to develop a long-term vision, you need to have a good drawing. You need to have a map. You know that the map, a map is something really very beautiful. There are maps that guide you for the future. We're doing good maps in order to discover the world, in order to find a treasure, in order to have a route map for our future. And now what we are using, this is Barcelona, that somehow is already built, is already urbanized. But even if it's already urbanized, we need to have a map in order to see how the future will be. So this is Barcelona today. This is the more centralized model with the highway around the historical center. But we have been working on the idea of reactivating the mountain. You see here, those are the mountains. Those are the two rivers, the waterfront, the other river, the historical center, the two mountains. So the question is, by defining several layers, you are able to define where are you going to put your resources, your projects, your investment in the near future. And that's why that is how we run our city. That, by the way, is a magical place. If you have never been in Barcelona, you should go. Thank you. So maybe now there are some questions or comments or
Hello, my name is Alexei. So I do have two questions. The first one is about the traffic decrease. When you've been talking about demolishing the big highways. So how the process, how you made the popularity of a public transport to increase. So for example, in Moscow, there is the same process is going, and the people are not really happy that they are losing parking places, and it's harder to move in the city. So that is the first question. And the second question is about bigger plans, about the electricity. You've told that actually currently you are moving to electricity production inside the house blocks. But in this way, so producing these solar panels produces a lot of pollution. So it's not really clean energy, how we name it. And say a bigger plant, for example, nuclear plants, are much more cleaner than this solar energy. And also, when we produce all the energy in one place, we have a bigger efficiency because we concentrate all the production in one place. So it's just a matter of size. Okay.
Good. Well, about the first idea, today in the Open Innovation Forum, it was also presented the case of Stockholm. Stockholm was collapsed by traffic, and then the government decided to pay a tax to enter in the center, in the same way that Singapore has today or London. And then at the beginning, the people, the first day, people decide not to take the car, because if they will take the car, they should pay for entering in the city center. And then the people start to take the metro or to use public transportation. At the beginning, many people were complaining, but after only 5 years, this changed completely. Before was 80% against 20, and now it's 20 against 80%. So that means that this is a question of you or us deciding what we want to do with our life. I know I live somewhere here. You know, I live somewhere here. And I know that if I take my car and I want to go there to work, it will take like 45 minutes. I will spend energy and I will spend money, etc. If I take the metro, that we have a metro, it will cost like 30 minutes and it will be cheaper. So if we count each of us, to own cars is really very expensive. When I arrived to Barcelona, at the beginning, I decided not to have car, and I was 10 years without car. If one weekend I needed to have a car to go on excursion, I rented. So I was saving to buy the car, to pay with the gas, for the gas, to pay for parking, to pay for insurance, and to pay to the police, because sometimes the police look at me. So yeah, that's true. And then at the end, this is a huge business for the car industry. Many people say that if you want to develop the economy of your country, the best thing is to promote production of cars, because this is what Ford invented in America. We'll make cars for everyone, we will pay well to the workers, and the workers will buy our cars. So the car was part of one economical model. The economical model is, you want to move, buy a car. They were always in the television with beautiful girls trying to sell you a car. But then at the end, we collapse the cities. That's the reality. I mean, if the city will be okay, no one will be complaining. But in your case, your city is collapsed. Moscow is the only city I have been 3 hours from the airport to my hotel. 3 hours sometimes. I mean, that's a lot. I waste 3 hours of my time. No, yeah. So next time, I say, I don't want a taxi. It will be a Mercedes. I don't want the taxi. I want the train. It's red, it's very beautiful. So that's true. So the question is only about really, obviously you need to have other answers. You need to have other systems. You need now, for example, I am starting to use Uber, and Uber is great. You don't pay. You don't pay with money. You call, it arrives. You go faster. So imagine that all private cars will be forbidden. That will be great. I don't know. I don't like to forbid anything. I like to promote the freedom, obviously, and the decision to take, the ability to take decision. But if we see the pictures, look at any picture of Moscow in 1920. There were many people walking in the street, there were some trams moving around, and some horses. So maybe this will be the future. And there were trees in the street. Now you see in your avenues, you don't have trees. I am asking, why? I mean, today I was counting, there were 12 roads. The sidewalk was like this, 3 meters, and no trees. You have a wonderful city. You will discover one day, I'm sure. But now it's completely collapsed by cars. So, but anyhow, this is a question of the culture. The government must promote now. Some days ago, I was with the mayor. You are building a new train that in this case is circular. I don't know. There are many things to come, and we'll see how fast you are. The truth is that other competitive cities are developing and taking decisions. I will confess you something, that you know there are many new systems, driverless cars. What will happen with driverless cars? It's not you driving the car. It's the city that sends you a car. If you want to go to shop something, maybe the company will send you a car. And because you are saying the city where you want to go, this car will be stopping. So it's not about having bus for 80 people, maybe it will be bus for 10 people. There are many technologies. And one technology that I was dreaming was about the own drone, to fly with drones. No, I was saying to my students, if you can put a pizza in a drone, you can put a kid. and then the kid could be flying. And everyone was loving. But you know what? Today, I went to the Moscow Urban Forum and I saw the first moto drone. Did you see that? I make a tweet about this. It's incredible. So the future is here. There are crazy people that are developing drones. They are not helicopters. They are really drones. And you are like flying, like Harry Potter a little bit, no? But this is, I mean, I saw here. I didn't see in America, I saw here. So that means that when we talk about transportation, in 30 years, I think we'll not see people driving their own car in the street. And then we'll see how we transform this. The good news is that we built this highway only in the year 92, only 23 years ago. So that means that it took 23 years to make the highway 10 million euros, and then we demolish it 20 million. So we could say $120 million or euros, you know, because we took the wrong decision. So if someone is thinking how to invest your resources here in the city, you should think not to solve the problem today. Obviously, you need to solve the problem today, but also you should think a little bit about what is the world that is coming. If not, you will be wasting your money. Instead, to build a highway, buy luxury electrical buses. And then the people start to use it. The second question was about the big... Yeah. Well, that's another... Let's say that yeah. You know, this is not only about energy. This is also about politics. And this is about who is ruling the world. If you need to buy the energy to someone because there is only one providing the energy, then that one can put the price that he wants. In Spain, the price of energy increased 80% in the last 8 years, and those were the years of the crisis. So there are people that they are unemployed and they don't have heating in their homes because they cannot afford to pay the energy, you know? Again, this is a political statement because I always make the joke that in Spain we don't have oil. And we buy the oil to the Middle East. You know, we send a bank transfer. We spend 50 billion euros every year buying oil. So they send us the oil. We burn the planet. We contaminate a little bit. And with our money, they sponsor the Barcelona football club t-shirt, Qatar, you know? It's incredible because with this controlled, decentralized model, there are few countries that are able to have external influence because they have the energy. And obviously, Russia, today someone was asking what happened with Russia. Yes, it's true. That's part of your richness. You are the biggest country in the world, and obviously you have energy and you have income for that. But this is not only about energy. It's about two things. One is about the heating the planet, and the other is about the power to decide. I want to have the power to decide. My son has the power to decide not to watch the television, you know? And then the power to decide is this. The power to decide is that I can make my own energy. I decide when I make the energy, and I decide what I want to do. And you tell me, this is less efficient. Yes, but being efficient, trying to be efficient, that's why we were buying cars, because someone told us that we should buy a car, you know? This kind of centralized model produced that the unemployed people in Barcelona, they spend their Saturday afternoon going to shopping mall to buy some chairs that was produced in China. So the people that are producing things are becoming richer. The people that are just consuming things, they are becoming poorer. And I prefer to be producer. And if I can produce everything, that means I can produce energy and I can charge my electrical car. Well, the electrical car I will be renting from my building, I will do it because I want to be disconnected to this kind of centralized model of someone taking the decision and putting the price for my energy. And there are many, 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 many people in the world working like this. Many American people, Tesla made the best electrical cars, and now Tesla are also making batteries for the buildings. So there are many people that want to be disconnected to this. And obviously there are many people, the companies that are running decentralized model, that they don't want to discuss this.
Okay, got it. Anyway, we have, in the first case, we are dependent on the oil or gas.
Or nuclear, okay, yeah.
Okay, on the second model, we are dependent on the solar panels.
It's true, it's absolutely true. But, yeah. Yeah, but then there are some technologies, it's like the wood or something like this. I mean, the planet is full of silicon. Silicon has been reduced, the price of the solar panels every year is reducing 150%. So now the price of producing energy with solar panel is almost the same as the coal production. So that means that if you will tell me about iridium or about platinum or something like this, I will say, yes, someone will be very rich with my decision. But there are more and more technology related with this. Obviously, the wind turbine, about the wind, yeah, that's cheap. I mean, and that's easy. You can produce energy with, obviously, with nothing. I mean, that's the oldest system to produce energy, no? So, and we need more innovation. I want this guy that invented the drone, moto drone, to be working on how to make energy in a cleanest way, trying to be disconnected. The productivity, obviously, and the fabrication is part of this freedom, yeah.
Еще вопросы, пожалуйста. Can you please use the earphone for translation?
Добрый день, спасибо за лекцию. Хотел задать такой вопрос. Как вы считаете, не устарела ли уже существующая на протяжении порядка 200-300 лет строчно-блочная застройка? То есть я говорю о новом морфотипе застройки, который бы в себя как раз и включил энергоэффективность города именно в его структуре. Это касается, как раз мы много слышали об интеграции социальных объектов, но я не увидел интеграции работы. То есть когда у нас в наше жизненное пространство внедрена и рабочая зона. То есть вот как-то у вас были предпосылки или работали вы на эту тему? Спасибо.
Thank you very much. The question is that I don't like to repeat myself. And this morning I was exactly talking about this. What I was talking about digital fabrication that we create in Barcelona, a center where, in fact, I founded the Institute for Advanced Architecture of Catalonia, where our students are working with robots in order to learn how to make things. This is a Russian student that developed this robot that is printing buildings. Now he's living in New York. We are also developing the idea of the Fab Labs, the idea of people, how we will work in the future. We'll work like this. We'll be working connected with other people in kind of blur companies where we share knowledge and we produce things locally. So the objective of these laboratories of fabrication is to develop the technologies in order to allow that any person can make anything in any place in the world. That this is very strong, but this is like this. So that's why, again, I say maybe it's less efficient because in China or in Bangladesh, they take some kids that they work during some hours in order to make some of the clothes that we have that are very cheap, no? But this is the other way around, is that we connect, we talk through video conference with everyone, And for example, my students were working on fabricating and this house. This house was made by our people in one laboratory in Barcelona. And you will say, yeah, yes, but this is about, let's say, this is about laboratory and about research. So we developed this neighborhood in Barcelona. You see still the highway here. But this neighborhood was about innovation, about new economy. But in some moment, the new economy seems to be related with people working with a computer. We only make innovation. We are great on innovation, but we don't fabricate anything. And this is not true. The innovation today is also to be able to make physical things. How can I print my telephone in my house? Who is going to work with me in order to develop a free telephone that will be better than the Apple one? And that's why we have been promoting the idea of, again, dissolving innovation in all the districts in Barcelona. And what we did was, you see, again, this is not Moscow, this is Barcelona, but you see, we have been able to do neighborhoods like this, only housing and residential. And this is the place where we have more immigration, 50% of the people is unemployed, and then what we decide is to make one laboratory of fabrication here in order to teach the kids, in order to promote that the people learn how to make things and start to think about to develop their own company. And this is the kind of festivals and meetings that we do, the idea that everyone should be able, you see, those are 3D printers. Maybe one of you has one of those at home, but we will have 3D printers very soon in the same way at home, in the same way, small ones, in the same way that we have the regular printers to print paper, no? We have, those are young entrepreneurs that decide to fabricate their own car. It's not about buying the car, but then making their own machine. And some of these guys are the ones that invented these drones that are flying with people. So that means that, yes, today we are still, the economy is organized in the way that he was explaining. We have big companies, big factories, where still we make things, and obviously in cities like Moscow, there are many other services like offices, shopping, and things like this. But what the future of work means is that if we are able to connect it with networks of knowledge and we are able to produce things locally, we'll be able to approach production to these neighborhoods. Today, one journalist asked me what to do with these some of the neighborhoods that you have in Moscow that are mostly residential. This is what we are starting to do. We are trying to bring innovation center here, and what we hope is that some of these places will be working areas in order to avoid that these people are taking the car or the metro or whatever in order to go to the center, and it's part of the collapse. No? So again, I want to be disconnected from the Middle East, from the oil, and I want to be disconnected from China, from buying chairs. I want to be connected with the Middle East and with China to share knowledge and to do projects together and to buy an app and to download a file in order to 3D print my car. And this is what is going to happen also in the next years in the cities. People is afraid about something. Now, what I would like to say is that I am an architect. I am a designer. So what I like to do is, I like to do this. I mean, this is what I do. This is what I try to do. But today, the world is changing. And behind this picture, there is also a social, economical, and political meaning. That means that if we want to do something like this, everything must change. Because if not, we will be ruling the world as we used to do. So in order to develop new kind of architecture, designs, and urban structure, we need to change the way we run things.
Добрый вечер. Я обратил внимание, что у вас никак не используются вообще реки, как в принципе и в Москве. Почему не развито, как вот, например, в Венеции, речное какое-то транспортное средство типа такси? Ну, даже если оно будет электрическим.
we never use the rivers, he say?
Да, я вот вижу, идет прям через центр практически, идет река по окраине. И, допустим, из самых дальних точек, как я понимаю, на транспорте, на любом, будто даже это, не знаю, там выделенные линии, все равно долго. А все-таки по реке, ну, там более разгружено, почему нету какого-то транспорта? Или все-таки он есть? Я просто не знаю Барселоны. Речной транспорт развит вообще в Испании?
Sorry, Barcelona, we don't have rivers. In Barcelona, Barcelona is a sea city. Wait, the city was born, the city was born here. This is the historical center because the harbor was here. And the city has been growing here. We have two rivers. One is here and the other is in the other side. And the rivers, in fact, they have very few water. The rivers used to be the place for the black water. So it was dirty, small ware. No. Here, we have very few water. So our river is not for boats. But we have bikes. We have people using bikes. Here now we clean that river and it's very good for bikes and for walking, etc. But we don't have rivers. We have about boats. We have boats and we have a cruise harbor here, very important. The most important cruise harbor in the Mediterranean is in Barcelona. So Barcelona is still a harbor city and is not a river city.
Здравствуйте. Первый вопрос хотелось бы задать по поводу отходов. Есть ли какие-то в Барселоне очистительные сооружения? И второй вопрос. Насколько я понимаю, вы хотите Барселону сделать автономным городом. И энергосбережение, электромобили — это все инструменты, с помощью которых город становится автономным. Какие системы вы еще рассматриваете, какие инструменты еще в работе для автономности? Спасибо.
Yeah, in Barcelona we have a good strategy about the trash because the trash is fundamental for the city. As I was explaining before, the cities today are importing goods and are generating trash. So obviously we need to have a good strategy about what we do with our trash. And I will show you what we are doing. Yeah, the first thing that we do that is fundamental is to have a map. Again, I was explaining, this is the map of the trash in Barcelona. You see all the trash that we generate from industry to domestics, and then this is what we do with the trash. 30% is recycling, 55% still is landfill, and 50% we produce energy. So in Barcelona, we used to have this landfill, and when all of this is full, what we did was to make a park in order to cover this landfill. But also we are now recycling part of the material, and we did some years ago, we did that factory that is in the corner of the city near the sea, you see, where we take part of the trash, we burn the trash with some filters in order to clean the air, and with the trash, we are able to produce enough energy to make all the lighting for the city 2 times. So that means that with the trash, what we do is we produce twice the energy for the lighting of Barcelona. And obviously, if we are changing our energy system and changing to LED, we'll be able, that is consuming only 10% of the traditional lighting, will be producing more. And the other thing that we do from the same plan is we have a district heating system that this is also connecting all the, let's say, all the innovation district with this hot water. So basically today what we do is we still make landfill, we do some recycling, and we burn part of the trash. There are many other cities in the world. Paris has 8 of these burning system, but the most efficient way to deal with the trash is the recycling system. And the other question was, sorry?
По поводу автономности. Хотите ли вы, чтобы Барселона, планируете ли вы, чтобы Барселона стала автономным городом?
The interesting thing is that we are not planning only to turn Barcelona into an autonomous place. We are planning to turn the world into an autonomous city place. So this is what is interesting. We had a meeting with MIT. This person is from MIT, Laboratory of Fabrication, and this is the mayor of Barcelona. And then this is last year, we make a challenge in order to promote the city globally connected and locally self-sufficient in 40 years. So now we launch this program called Fab City, where we are collaborating with other cities that are joining the initiative in order to develop the technologies, the solution, and the vision about this. So from our point of view, the only way to stop the climate change, obviously, is to use renewable energy. That's one question. But also is to start to move less things around the world. Today, we are moving many things, food, technology, and things with containers through the world. We could produce almost anything locally or in the city or in the region. And the economy in the future, we imagine, if this is true, will be more based on selling and buying information than not on selling and buying things. So we are not planning to make Barcelona, obviously it's not autonomous, it's connected autonomous, connected from information but locally productive. And then what we would like to do is to do it in many places around the world.
Если у нас нет больше вопросов, мы благодарим за прекрасную лекцию.
Okay.